What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. In today's video, I'm going to talk about a $63 million order for MULN and what are 3 or 4 things that I must see in order to get on a plane headed for New York City and sit down with the one and only Salvatore, CEO of Micro Mobility. All that and more coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a gorgeous day here in Atlanta, but I'm having trouble with my allergies. I'm allergic to ragweed, among other things, and the pollen is just everywhere. So if I sneeze or I look like I'm about to sneeze, that's why. But I want to spend 10 minutes or thereabouts telling you why I think MULN is very bullish and why MCOM is neutral to bearish. Starting off with MULN. Whether you think it's a bullshit order or not, in my opinion, doesn't matter. It's either a real order that's really going to ship 1,000 trucks or it's not. Because all it takes at this point, with the Dow down almost 500 points, is the perception that it's real. So in my opinion, based on 30 years of experience, half of that as a stockbroker, I think it's real. We have a company in MULN, MULN, that is overpromised and underdelivered for years. I got long the stock at a dime a few weeks ago, traded it to 12.5, sold half, bought it back too early. Would it have been nice to get long in a big way at 6.5? Yeah. But as I said in multiple tweets in the last few days, follow me on Twitter at TrySmallBiz, 7.25 to a half is the sweet spot to get long. And if I had more cash, as per the green light that I've got on Twitter, I'd be buying more. I am convinced that the order is real. What I highly recommend, and I've actually reached out to the company, is quantify the amount of payment that you're going to receive and the amount of trucks that are going out the door and when. For example, because it is not in today's press release, which again, I think is very bullish. We've traded north of 500 million shares. I think if they come out and quantify and they say the first of 300 trucks are going to ship by July the 1st. And we are scheduled to receive a third or half of the money up front, or $5 million a month throughout the rest of the year. The minute they come out and quantify the amount of trucks to be delivered to Marion and the amount of money that they're going to get paid, gone. Gone. I don't give a shit if they're going to dilute another 1.5 billion shares. It's got to be up and over a dime. Fine. Why you would want to do that down here is beyond me. Save it until it gets a lot higher. You'll be more cost effective in terms of preserving shareholder value. But I am convinced the order is real. So while some of you want to sit there and go, oh, they got to build the trucks first, or, oh, when are they going to get paid? They got to get a loan. Who the fuck gives a shit? When you have a stock that is telling you, based on block trades, I have seen multiple going by now at 081, saw it dip down under 8 a minute ago, back up and over 8. I've seen multiple 7 and even 8-figure blocks go off at or above offer. Whenever, and again, I'm speaking from experience, whenever you see 2, 3, 4 million share lot trades go off over the offer, that's either a bot that's been programmed to get as many shares as it can up into 8.25, or someone got on the phone and said, I got an appetite. I need some size on MULN, and I'm willing to buy 10 million up to 8.25. And some trader said, I'll sell you 10,000 or 10 million, excuse me. Done. Whenever you see large blocks, and I'm not talking about these little rinky-dink when they're trying to play games on the short side where they'll print 100 or 200 shares above the offer. When you see large blocks of stock, and I'll bet you there's over 100 today as we're pushing 600 million shares traded with about an hour to go, I have counted my own self at least 10 or 15 of 1 million shares or more at or above the offer. That's institutional buying. That's short covering at a minimum, or institutions like they were 2 weeks ago getting long the stock. And you had a big bear, Louis Navellier, who I used to respect in the 90s and I no longer do. He's written multiple hit pieces on XELA, to name a few, but he was a big bear on MULN and he's now gone bullish. He said, now it's time to buy a washed out stock. So keeping it simple, stupid. If you're long MULN like I am at a dime or less, hang in there. If you're just seeing this video for the first time, the sweet spot to buy the stock is in and around 07.5 or less, which brings me to the one and only Salvatore, CEO of MCOM, formerly known as Hellbiz. When the moon hits the sky like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Well, if you're new and you didn't see the last video, welcome. We don't edit around here. And yeah, my Dean Martin, my Dino, ain't too bad. Because we learned from Sal that he didn't get all his money from gondolas. In fact, there's not enough inlets or whatever it was in terms of how he described it in Sicily, where he's from. This is not like Venice or Florence or whatever city over there. I am half Italian or Irish from the waist up, Italian from the waist down. I've told that joke before, but I'm not quite certain as my head is rather clogged with snot and I want to sneeze at the moment. But I want to give you 3 or 4 things that I have to see in the very near future, Sal, if you want to get me on a plane. And preconditions for all you out there that have been encouraging me to do this, it must be unedited and I want it live. And just like Elon Musk called bullshit, I believe it was on a BBC reporter when he said, you're lying. Sal, if you do, and I don't give a shit who you got sitting in the room, flexing muscles or giving me the evil eye. If I smell a rat, I'm going to say on live television or a live stream, you're not telling me the truth. And I'm going to have my facts straight, so you better do as well. But the first thing that I'm going to have to see, Sal, in order for this to happen, is you have to stop blocking shareholders that have been decimated en masse. I understand if someone says you are one stupid motherfucker and you should X, Y, and Z and it's violence. I can understand blocking that. But when you have shareholders, and I've seen dozens myself in the last few days, that have been rocked, that have been bent over the desk, as you've heard me say, without any lube whatsoever, in and all the way up, all they really want is to be heard. They've lost 80% of their money since you told us in boldface to hang in there in the last earnings announcement. So as a CEO, as far as I'm concerned, you're supposed to be empathetic to their thoughts, their feelings, and their opinions, and you're not. So if you want to sit down with me and maybe turn someone who is very much against what you're doing right now into a cheerleader that might be able to get the stock, and again, I've been long now for months, going in the northerly direction, you must stop blocking people, particularly people that follow me, that are members at trysmallbiz.com, small biz owners that want to make money in the stock market. It must come to an end. That's qualification number 1 for a sit down. Number 2, you must end the dilution. Now, today the volume is light. Not much, if any, dilution, ladies and gentlemen. But we've seen in recent filings at least 4 days, including the infamous Thursday, April the 5th, where he was diluting the stock. And at this point, it's close to 1 million shares since the reverse. So while you like to hide behind the naked short war bullshit, you have been diluting the stock on and off every 4 or 5 days since we had a 1 for 50 reverse. Which brings me to qualification number 3. I want to hear an end to the naked short war nonsense because you, along with all the others that followed GNS into this share intel, as far as I'm concerned, nonsense, have been diluting the shit out of your stocks. That includes Trika, another stock we don't own called Verb. You, formerly known as Hellbiz, now MCOM. MULN, there's been massive dilution. So in my opinion, a legitimate problem that the SEC refuses to enforce, and that's illegal naked short selling. You're hiding behind that ruse saying, oh, it's the naked shorts that are destroying our stock. No, it's not. It's you, your stupid ass tweets, your insistence on blocking people that have been decimated in a stock that you told them to hang on to. And you're hiding behind this ruse of the naked shorts, which brings me to another ruse. You keep telling us, and this must end as well, that you can't buy any stock because you have access to non-public information. Bullshit. You're not telling us the truth. We're now going on, 5 or 6 weeks? You have got no material information that's come out at all. And we've seen you talk about Lordstown, and I'll talk about that in a second, RIDE, in a deal that apparently fell through, or did it, with Foxconn. But you're out there saying, oh, I can't buy stock because I'd have access to non-public information. Meanwhile, you've said nothing meaningful in 5 or 6 weeks. I'm calling bullshit. You are lying, in my opinion, to shareholders. You're blowing smoke up our ass in a big fucking way. And it needs to come to an end. You got to stop hiding behind the naked short nonsense while at the same time you're diluting. You got to stop saying that I can't step in right now at $1.05 a share, near an all-time low, split adjusted the equivalent of 2 cents under HLBZ, meaning since you went public at a $10 SPAC 2 years ago, it's down 99.8% or thereabouts, which brings me to the fourth explanation. Or should I say requirement? Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I am suffering from allergies at the moment. To get me on a plane, which again is going to be, let's call it an hour long, unedited, live in your office, and I want to be put up in a swanky hotel, and I want some hot brunette or blonde to meet me at the airport and have drinks and dinner with me afterwards. Yes, that's going to be a requirement. And if you don't like that, why don't you be one of 203 premium members that made a huge mistake canceling before my next video, which is 18 reasons why you should get a premium membership and never let go of it right now. But yes, Sal. Requirement number 4. Isn't this an interesting channel? I mean, if you're just stumbling into this, welcome. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot of fun to educate and entertain the public, and it's just getting started. You got to see the next video. But Sal, why in the world were you out yesterday, I believe, talking about wanting to do a deal with Lordstown, RIDE, which was down as low as a quarter, let's call it. It has rebounded some, probably because Foxconn, which had extended a few months ago $100+ million financing deal, it's another EV maker, but they had a squabble and they threatened to pull the funding. So out comes Sal saying in public now, why don't we have a conversation? We could do our manufacturing, and I'm paraphrasing. We could do our manufacturing similar to a meeting that he had months ago with MULN, and maybe we can save each other. In so many words, Sal, when you tell people your intentions publicly to work with a MULN and or a RIDE, you're also saying you don't have any US-based manufacturing. So let's unpack this fucking mess that you've delivered in the last 6 weeks. You went into a major rebranding with nothing. No deal, no alliance, no major revenue, nothing. You've been saying nonstop as you block hundreds, maybe even thousands of people, that you can't buy any stock with it down 80% because you've got access to non-public info and the short sellers are destroying your stock. I'm calling bullshit on both of those. Then you come out and reinforce the fact that the stuff that you have, and I'm not done with a Mike Lindell comparison. You thought the Dino was funny? I'm about to do Mike Lindell because apparently Sal wants to be the Mike Lindell of micro-mobility. But you're out there talking about doing an alliance or a deal with RIDE so that they can what? According to micromobility.com, they can manufacture your one e-bike, your one scooter, and that fucking helmet that looks like a Dixie cup turned upside down? But if that's not enough, ladies and gentlemen, I knew you would. If you've ever seen Mike Lindell from My Pillow, when he's standing in the medicine cabinet, right? And they got that stupid ass music playing. He's a big Trumpster, losing his ass, multiple lawsuits coming. He's a total whack job. And by the way, the pillow sucks, Mike. I tried it about 6 months ago, but he's in there. Oh, I knew you would. And you look good too. Oh, geez. But now we've got Sal telling everyone in plain sight yesterday, along with the RIDE nonsense, basically admitting he has no U.S. manufacturing capacity with 2 orders, which he, by the way, took $5 deposits on a $1,600 bike. Are you shitting me? But he's now saying anyone in the micro-mobility space is going to be able to list their products, and so far nothing's on there, in exchange for a cut. So if you make a wheelchair or a skateboard or anything that can be labeled a micro mobility device, you're welcome to you're welcome to list your product on micromobility.com because I knew you would. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. So, in closing, I am very bullish on MULN. I said that the other day. I'm not concerned in the least. Last trade, 08 on the dot. If the Fed comes through, whether they hike or not tomorrow, with a Davos press conference, and we can fix at least 2 or 3 banks that remain that I mentioned 10 minutes ago, the market's going to be fine. And as I tweeted last night, 70% of Mays going back 25 years are up. So the whole sell in May and go away is not right, or not correct, I should say, 30% of the time. But when it comes to MCOM, not only am I not getting on a plane until I see 3 or 4 things happen and now, but I do not recommend you buy any more of the stock last trade $1.04. Until it shows signs of life, it jumps 10 or 20% and can sustain that rally when you with a CEO who will stop blocking people, start buying stock, announce a meaningful deal, quit blaming the naked shorts, and please, oh please, get off the Mike Lindell copycat, because, well, let's just say we're fucked if you don't. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, squeaky chair needs to be fixed, that I love you, and I thank you so much for watching. I knew you would!